Last year's surprise won't be sneaking up on anyone this season. Rookie of the Year runner-up Donovan Mitchell and the Jazz stunned the NBA by making it all the way to the second round of the playoffs. The fifth seed in the West, heck, a postseason berth seemed improbable after starting the season 19-28. The squad suffocated their opponent. Second best defense in the league, and Rudy Gobert won Defensive Player of the Year. Playing in a conference that top to bottom improved over the summer, how much better can the Jazz get? Playing Jazz and only Jazz for the next 30 minutes. It's NBA TV's Jazz Team Preview, and it starts right now. Ten points on the season ahead for the Utah Jazz. And who better in studio to talk about the defensive-minded squad than the great defender himself in the 90s, Derek Harper, with us here. We've got the NBA champ, Steve Smith. I'm Jared Greenberg. 30 minutes, all about the Utah Jazz. In a bit, we'll discuss the steal of the 2018 draft. First, point number one. Guys, coming off of a devastating summer where the Jazz lost Gordon Hayward in free agency, Utah won 48 games, got up to the fifth spot in the West, bringing back virtually their entire squad. Can this team crack the top four, Smitty, and become a team that gets home court advantage of the first round of the Western Conference?
You know, I think they have an extreme amount of talent, especially young guys when you get experience, Harp, as you know, in the playoffs. The only thing is, nothing against the Utah Jazz. I still have them fifth because of LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers added to the Western Conference. I have them as the fourth seed, but I think it'll be a very close race. I like the way those young guys play. You usually don't have a young team that was so defensive-minded for young guys. So they got out there defensively, but I still didn't have them as a fifth seed.
Harp, though, you're talking about a Laker team who certainly has LeBron, and we know he's still the greatest player in the world, but they got a lot to figure out. The Jazz know who they are.
Unproven guys, and I would agree with you that they got a lot to figure out in Los Angeles, But when you talk about the Jazz, I think, number one, you have to go right to their defense. They held teams to just 99 points last season, and that's pretty darn good on the defensive end. But I think a lot of it rides on Mitchell, who was sensational last year. They're good defensively. You're talking about the best defensive player in the league in Gobert last year, as you watch him operate a little bit, blocking shots and policing that paint. But in order for them to do it, they're going to have to get more production from their role players. And I think there'll be that'll give them a chance to do what they need to do.
Smitty, when we talk about the Jazz cracking the top four, you got to talk about the coach, Quinn Snyder, who
underrated.
Second in Coach of the Year voting last year behind Dwayne Casey, but he seems to be a master tactician, getting the most out of what he has.
He does a great job, and I think when you have trust, anytime as an NBA coach, you can have that trust and also the intelligence and the high basketball IQ. He's been around, and he puts guys in great positions to be very good. And what I love about him, he's not asking guys to be more than what they are capable right now. And he's not afraid to go use that bench. A lot of coaches right there, they stick with that 7 or 8 Harp.
Yep.
He will stretch it and find whatever the best combination for that game, and he goes with it.
Well, guys have to buy in. You know, they have to believe in the system. I think that's the one thing that Utah has as a team. They're the epitome of a team. They play together. They share the basketball. Everybody knows their role. They play their roles. And when you do that, you give yourself a chance to win night in and night out. They're a good defensive team, a slow-paced team they've been over the years. But, of course, the addition of Mitchell, they've speeded up a little bit, averaging about 104 last year throughout the season. So I like this team, especially come playoff time.
All right, well, let's get into Donovan Mitchell. On to point number two. As I mentioned, a guy that many thought would have a nice NBA career. No one saw the start of his NBA career being this good. It's like they didn't miss a beat without Gordon Hayward. So versatile. How much better can Donovan Mitchell get, Harp, in his second season?
Well, you can always get better. What did he average? 20 points, I think, last year. You can always get better, especially as a point guard in this league. And I think the one thing I'll be looking for when you start talking about this young sensation in Mitchell is whether or not he understands when to go and when to slow. I don't think as a point guard you can play at the same speed, if you would. You got to slow down. There are times in the game where I think his shot selection you can question sometimes, even though he makes a lot of threes, a lot of long shots. I just think once he slows down a tad, he's going to be a lot better getting other people involved. And, you know, when you involve other people with the talent that he has offensively, you can get yours anytime.
And I think, Harp, you brought up a great question. And the question I would ask is, he looked fantastic when Rubio went down as a point guard. What does Coach Quinn Snyder do, Jared, when you have Rubio on him? Not that he played bad. It just seemed like the Utah Jazz played faster and played a little bit more efficient and better with a Donovan Mitchell at the point guard position. Next for me is playing without the basketball for him, being more efficient, knocking down shots. And I think he's great at the cup. And I think he's pretty good at the three-point line, and he can get better. That mid-range, those floaters, and being able to come off screen and rolls. Harp was so good at this. Is Harp coming to score? Is he coming to drive? Is he coming to dish? As a young guy, he's going to get better because when he was a rookie, I did the same thing. I turned that corner, Harp. I am going so fast. And then now the defense is saying, hey, I have one thing to do. He's driving it. Once he gets that pace of the game and that rhythm, being able to find guys and make the defense respect when he's coming off that pick and roll, I think he's going to get much better.
The great thing about him, though, he has an uncanny ability to finish when he gets in the paint. He's not afraid of size. The guy can shoot it from three, of course. He can catch and knock down three-pointers. But I think that's not his biggest strength. His biggest strength is getting all the way to the rim and really clever. There you see a nice crossover and finish there during the playoffs. But this guy, the sky's the limit for how great he can be.
He competes.
Yeah.
For a young guy, respect all these guys that are all-stars. But when it starts to jump ball, he goes out and competes against everybody, and he doesn't take any prisoners.
Let me ask you, both of you, though, who have had to play, you obviously the point guard, many of you played the point throughout your NBA career. If he is playing that position, we know how good the defense is around him, but can he guard the opponent? So many all-star, future Hall of Fame point guards coming at him night in, night out.
You know, that takes a lot out of you, and Derek knows that much better than me because what he did at the defensive end, and also to be that #1 scorer for them. I would love to see him off the basketball. I don't say he's very good with it, but I think that it will help him, his load, Derek, in my opinion. And also, you got to have incorporate some kind of way. You have Rubio on your team.
Yeah.
I think for him is he can be a lockdown defender. He has athleticism, he has size, he has the girth for a two-guard position, and he's athletic. But I think for him it's hard. I went through it. It's trying to get through screens, Harper, much as they run pick and roll, and you keep getting hit with them big guys, it takes a lot out of you on the offensive end.
Lockdown, I think, is a stretch, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know if he's going to ever be a lockdown defender, but the guy can certainly defend. And being in the Western Conference, you're going to be forced to play defense. You can't take the defensive end off anywhere in the Western Conference. You're playing against the best point guards in the league in the Western Conference.
Stay between me and Harp on this one so he doesn't hit me on this one.
Harp's not going to hit you, man. Those were the old days.
I believe it's pretty safe to say in 2018, 2019, defense doesn't necessarily win championships. You got to be able to score in this league. We know how good the Jazz are defensively. Second best defensive rating, tied with the Spurs for fewest points per game allowed. Defensively, they're really good. Offensively, middle of the pack. 15th offensive rating, 19th points per game. Does this Jazz team rely, as we go to point 3, too much on their defense? Do they have enough offense to become an elite team?
You know, I thought Quinn Snyder did a good job. I think if you look at it, they weren't an offensive team. They couldn't get up and down. They didn't have the type of pace. So he had these guys buy in that if we're going to win games, it's going to be defensively. And so they got to the playoffs. They got to the second round. I think they're going to have to win games different defensively. I love Favors. I love Gobert. I don't like them both on the court at the same time, the way the league is going to shooting threes and high pick and rolls. So I would love to see them play a little bit smaller, maybe Ingles at the 4, maybe have another guy come in and have Favors, whether he's starting, probably Gobert starting, for those guys to get a little bit more stretch and space because they're playing a little bit smaller.
Jared, if they're going to be better offensively, they're going to have to get production off of their bench. I think that's the one thing that'll make them, that'll push them to 110 points a game opposed to 104, which they averaged last year. But I think people underrate the value of guys coming in, understanding their role, and playing their role. If they're an offensive guy, you come in, you get buckets. If you're a defensive guy, you come in and play your role there. You can create offense that way as well.
Can they play faster, Harp, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. Rubio likes to push it. I mean, he's
Can they
not
play
Donovan
faster
Mitchell.
with Favors and Gobert?
No, I think they can.
Okay.
I really do, because you have two guards out on the floor in Rubio and Donovan that like to go.
I love Ingles.
Yeah.
But I think I can outrun Ingles right now.
They like to go. And he's running.
Can we set that up, first of all?
Listen.
I got you on Ingles.
He's running to that three-point line, though,
Yes.
where he shot a very high three-point
I love Ingles.
percentage.
I'm talking about as far as foot speed, though.
He doesn't have to run. He has to shoot and make shots. That's what his responsibility is.
Drafting, they're very deep in the backcourt. But drafting Grayson Allen, I don't know how much playing time he gets, but when he gets on the court, how much of a punch can he give him?
You know, because the kid can shoot the basketball, and you love Grayson Allen. Anytime you can stretch the floor, and I love him. He's always been a competitor, a little feisty, and then you can have him a guy that shoots from deep. That's why I know Donovan Mitchell is their best player, in my opinion, but the most important until they get somebody else is Joe Ingles. They don't have enough guys that can stretch the floor and make plays other than at the rim. Rubio at the rim, Burks at the rim. You got to have some guys that can catch, knock down a three.
Right.
If they run you off the line, can you make the next play? And that's why I think Ingles did a fantastic job for them last year.
You know, Steve, you know this. Where you're drafted, what team drafts you for your ability is really important. And I think the fact that he got drafted by the Jazz, it's going to bode well for him. I think that's the perfect spot for a guy like Allen. He plays with an edge. As long as he's not tripping people and doing those kind of and having those kind of things going on, I think he's going to be a solid pro. I really do.
Be interesting to see him take on the Golden State Warriors, right? The team that leads the league in technical fouls every year.
Yeah, you know.
It gets chippy out there, man. It's just the way it goes.
Hey, listen, you got a few technical fouls in your day.
I
So
certainly did.
We've got plenty more to come. These guys are going to go on the court and show you how some adjustments to league rules may impact and ultimately help out Donovan Mitchell, and he's going to avoid that sophomore slump and become a sophomore sensation.